Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. My name is Paul Croto. I'm here with the amazing Cheryl Morley again.
Hello. That's so exciting. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to say the same thing.
You know, it's so exciting. Yeah, I know you always say that, but what's so exciting, Cheryl, is it's number 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We're making some progress here. Like, I cannot wait till we get to 100. Like, we're going to throw a big party, like have massive giveaways. It's going to be awesome. So
that sounds super fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, fun is our game, Cheryl.
I like a party.
Who doesn't? So we're talking about the 15 laws of growth. We're continuing our series here on Thursdays with John Maxwell. And today, Cheryl, we're talking about law number 14. So we're getting close to the end here.
No.
Yeah. The law of expansion. It's a good one.
It is a good one, but I don't want it to be over.
Well, we're going to move on to other bigger and better things, Cheryl.
All right. Well, I just love this. I really, really, really loved it. So I didn't want it to be over yet.
Talk to us about the 15 or the law of expansion, Cheryl.
Wow. Well, it just starts with growth always increases your capacity.
True.
Right. So obviously it's super important to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some kind of thing out there that, you know, if you put in, I don't know, was it 10,000 hours or 5 years or some crazy number, you're considered an expert. So yes. I don't, you know.
Well, and I think they said that if you do 1 hour a day for 5 years, you will become an expert in that subject. If you studied
1 hour a day?
Yes, 1 hour a day for 5 years, you will become an expert in that thing.
Okay. So, you know, we hear these kind of things and we're going through our education and trying to become an expert. And John's big question to himself is, when will I get there? You know,
that's my big question too.
Yeah.
When am I there? Am I there yet?
Paul, when are we going to get there?
Can I start something different? Or do I have to keep doing this thing over and over and over and over? Right. I mean, not always, I guess, but I do tend to think like that.
Well, a lot of people do. And this is, if you're going to listen to any part of this podcast, it's this one, right? This piece right here, because John changed his primary question. And this is something I'm huge about. We're both huge about on this topic of what is your primary question? What are the questions you're asking yourself throughout the day? Absolutely. And I will do a whole podcast on just the questions that Cheryl and I ask ourselves. But John went from saying, when will I be an expert? When does the fun start? When am I going to get there?
When did he, Paul, do you remember how long it took him to get to this next question that he's going to ask himself?
Like 20 years or something.
3 years. 3 years okay. Into this 5 year.
Oh yeah.
Thing he was doing, right? Because he wanted to be a leader. And so he was going to do it 1 hour a day. And he heard it from, is it Nightingale? Yeah. That's who he heard it from. And then he thought, oh, I'm going to be a good leader. Okay. I'm going to be an expert if I do this for 1 hour every day for 5 years. And so he was doing it. And at 3 years, he said it kind of changed. And then what's the question that he asked himself?
So we went from asking, his primary question went from, when will I be an expert, to how far can I go?
Wow. Well, let me tell you, he's really done it, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah. It's, you know, when you think about questions, you know, and how they make you feel and what they do for you, that going from when will I get there? You know, we all have kids in our back seats, and when are we getting there? Are we almost there? You know, just like you have this anticipation, but to switch your mentality and your whole being to how far can I go? I mean, this is why I love Elevate, Cheryl, because it's limitless. It isn't like, oh, we're trying to get to this or this or this. We're just out. It's a complete lifestyle that I will have till the day I die. I'm always going to be elevating things.
You know what I thought of when I heard John talking about this? What if he didn't change his question?
Oh.
Right? I mean, because he was very young. He said he was like 24 or something when he first heard this. So I was thinking, what if he wouldn't have changed his question. And he just decided after 5 years that he'd arrived and he was the best leader ever. And that was it.
He would have retired and that's it.
Well, we wouldn't have the 100 books that he's written.
No,
that's for doggone sure. So, I mean, this is fascinating to me that a simple question, a simple change in the way you look at something could change your whole life, which it changed his life. And I think, Paul, that it's changing ours also, right? It's changed our life.
I know that each of us are asking this question more and more now, you know, getting away from are we there yet to, hey, how far can we go with this? And just night and day mentality on that. So that's our tip of the day. But so most people have an arrival mindset. Like, how are we there yet? How long is it going to take? You know, so the point of this lesson is that there is no finish line. So get that out of your minds. Now we can set targets and things, you know, to get someplace. But as soon as we get there, you just set another target to hit and keep going. Yeah. I love this part. He said that the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know, which is something that's happened, you know, to both of us. We're like, oh, we know everything. And then we start learning some more. And then we're like, well,
you said that, Paul. I didn't ever say that. I've never once said that I know everything.
Oh, I thought you said the opposite. Like, oh, I know everything. And then
no, I never thought I did. But I always, and I think I learned that from when I was little, because I think my dad told me that there's always something that you can learn from, you know, at all times in your life. So I never once thought and I find that fascinating, because even if you're an expert in something, you can still learn something new every single day. Look at John. He's an expert. And he says, what did he say? He said that the older he gets, the more he knows, the more he realizes how much he doesn't know, which I thought, wow. That's amazing.
I'm not saying much for the rest of us out there, but.
Well, well, Paul, let me tell you, as long as we have this passion for lifetime growth, I think that we will be fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's talk about the opposite of that, Cheryl. So tell us the story about him, the question he asked about, you know, going to lunch with someone.
Wait, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, he said that have you ever had lunch with someone you haven't seen in 5 years or more?
Oh, yeah.
And as they're talking, like, hey, what's going on? Hey, Joe, I haven't seen you in forever. What's going on?
This has happened to me before.
And you realize that nothing has changed in 5 years.
Yeah,
that's the same story you told me 5 years ago.
Paul, that right there would be like the scariest thing ever to me. Like, to think that 5 years, let alone 1 year, being in the same place that I am 1 year from now.
Yeah.
Yikes. That would be so bad.
You just wasted a whole year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be so bad. Yeah.
So we all have a lot of room for growth, and we have change. We have to change how we think, and we have to change what we do, which is how we're going to close out this podcast, is talking about these two things, which is changing your thinking and changing what you do.
Well, thank goodness there's only two, Paul.
Well, there's only two, Cheryl.
Well, just two things. That
everything in the world falls under these two things, but there's only two.
Well, there's only two. Let's keep it simple, please. Let's keep it simple. For those who don't have a master's degree.
Change your thinking.
For those who don't have a master's degree, Paul, we're going to keep it simple. Just two things you have to change: what you do and what you think. That makes me laugh. Oh my gosh, that is really so funny, because just like you said, Paul, that's everything.
Let's talk about changing your thinking, Cheryl. What is the keys to that?
Oh my gosh. You have to stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. That is so true. I remember when I was younger and very first starting, deciding to be a business owner and all of those things. And it was always like, Cheryl, don't work hard, work smart. Yeah. So it's the exact, that's it. That's what this whole thing is all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was years ago, this described me to a T. Like, I would see my list of things to do today. I got 10 things I got to do today. And I would have this mentality of, boy, what could I check off really fast? So I'd find the easiest thing on the list and do that. Oh, win. Wow. Fantastic. And they would do another one, another one, another one. And by the time the day was over with, I got 8 out of 10 done.
Ah.
So I felt like, man, that's amazing. Like to get 8 out of 10, like people just don't do that. They can't get.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
The 2 that you didn't get done, were those the most important?
Those were the most important things. Yeah.
Well, Paul, I find that interesting because what I did it a little differently. I lived my life a little differently. I wouldn't anymore have a list than I would fly to the moon, because there's I just never had a list. So I was just and I would say my whole life, I flew by the seat of my pants. That was it. That was like my saying. Everyone said that about me. Oh, there's Cheryl flying by the seat of her pants, because I never had a list. I never knew. I didn't know. I just did whatever. And which is kind of cool because I was living in the moment at all times.
but I mean, would you say that? So the 80-20 rule is just, I think, the best rule ever.
Yeah.
You know, so 20%, I'm sorry. So when I did 80% of my list, it was giving me 20% return.
Sure. Because you weren't doing the most important
thing. The top
thing.
2 things, the top 20% will give you 80% return.
Exactly.
So I'm willing to bet, Cheryl, that even though I had a list and you didn't, you were still doing the things that, hey, that sounds easy, or that sounds easier than that. So I'm going to do that first.
Well, I'm not sure, Paul, because I don't remember anything being easy.
Okay.
So, and I'm saying that because when you grow up on a farm, you will do the hard things first, because you do whatever has to be done. And that stuff is not easy. Right. And which I find very interesting. But if I had my choice, I'm pretty sure I would have done the easy stuff. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's just knowing that it's that top 20%, they'll give you 80% of your results. I love the next one, Cheryl. 20% of the people you work with are 80% of the problem. And I can rattle off that 20% in like 2 seconds if you want. Give you the list.
You know the names, Paul? You know the names, do you?
Oh, yeah. And I think this is the one part where this law is wrong, because I think it's more like 90 or 95% of the problem. But we'll go with the benefit of the doubt and say it's only 80.
That makes me laugh.
Well, John is very aggressive with this. He always fires the bottom 20% of his staff.
Holy cow, I would be making sure I wasn't on the bottom 20%. I wouldn't even know how to figure it out.
I know Tony Robbins does that too. He has gold, silver, bronze. So he puts a medal on your head. And if you're bronze, you have 30 days to get to gold, to silver. And if you don't make it, you're out. So that's like 33% of his staff is out.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. It's keeping the best of the best. So
I like that.
And, but he also gives it a raise to the top 20% since they account for 80% of the success.
Right, which is really important too.
Yep. So the big question to ask yourself, Cheryl, is what do you need to do that no one else can do?
Yeah. I think if you can get that situated in your mind and understand what that is in your business or in your life, right? There's certain things as a mom that I have to do. There's nobody else can do it.
Right.
And I think as soon as you know what that is, then you're going to be able to get those things done quicker. And I love that John was like, look, other than that, don't do it. Don't do the things that you don't have to do, even if you love them. Because there's stuff that I don't have to do, but I like it. I like, not only do I like to do them, but they're very clear in my mind that they need to get done, like the dishes and the laundry and things like that. But I cannot do those because how on earth is that going to be helping my business at all? Right. So I think that's super important to realize and to really commit to do that and do it. That took me a long time, Paul, to stop doing those things. Right. It really did because I saw it needed to be done. And so I would just jump in and do it.
Because it
was not easy. Maybe the task wasn't easy, but it was easy for me to see and to do it.
Well, to explain it to somebody else and have them do it would be harder,
But once they know, But once they know how to do it,
then
you're good to go.
Yeah.
So that's something I really had to learn too. I'm sure that's getting way off on something else, but I think that's super important too. Being able to coach and be able to help a person do what you don't have to do. But I always say, oh, it's just easier for me to do it.
Right. Right. Well, you used to say that, but now you don't.
I did used to say that. No, now I don't. Now I say, Paul, can you please train them on how to do that? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I will tell you all, get a business partner that is super good at the things you're not good at. I really do believe that, because I think I think it really helps.
Yeah. I mean, this relationship that Cheryl and I have, it's fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of things that I can do that Cheryl can, and a lot of things Cheryl can do that I can't. So I think it's a great back and forth we have and on things, and makes a great team. So absolutely. Yeah. Cheryl, I know we talked before we made this podcast about this next thing, and this is something that comes natural to you, but not natural to most people.
Yes, I love this one. So this is stop thinking, can I? And start thinking, how can I?
Right.
Ooh, I love that. I love that, because can I meet, like, to me, when I say, can I, it's like I'm asking if I can do something. And it's like, to me, it means that I don't have the freedom to do what I want, right? I know that's not really what they're talking about, but it's all in the words that are being used. So can I? No, I don't ever ask that. I always ask, how can I? How will we do it? I always say yes first. And until we talked about that, until I heard John talk about it and say, that's what you do. I love that story that he told, that on their booth at the little thing that they always have, they have an informational booth. And it has this big, huge thing at the top, and it says, the answer is yes. Now, what's your question? Right. I love that. That is how I live my life. I mean, I just had somebody call me and be like, Cheryl, can we do this? I'm like, absolutely. Yes. The answer is yes. And then I'm thinking, holy cow, Paul, how are we going to do this? What are we doing? What's the system? How do we put that together? On something that we're working on. Right. And I love that. I'm like, the answer is yes. There's no other
reading
answer.
That book, it's all figure outable.
Oh yeah.
It's true. It's all figure outable. We don't know how to make it happen, but we're going to make it happen because we're going to figure it out. Absolutely. And that's really how winners think. Mm-hmm. The last part here on changing your thinking is and this is something I've really, really done in my life, especially over the past couple of years, and it's made a huge difference, is stop thinking one way and start thinking many ways. So I don't make any decisions anymore unless there's 3 options on the table.
Yep.
So whatever I'm doing, okay, that's one option. What are the other 2? And then it's usually easy to think of the second one, but then it's hard to think of the third one. But when you force yourself to look at that, you're like, well, wait a second, which one of these is the best way? And a lot of times it's the third way that got brought up.
Sure. And I think it helps when you have other people involved, looking at the situation, like a mastermind situation, I think is really helpful too.
Absolutely. I love those. So talk to us, Cheryl, about change what you do.
Yeah, we just went over change your thinking, and now it's change what you do. Okay, so number 1, stop doing what is expected and start doing more than is expected. And I love that, right? To me, that's like going the extra mile. Yeah. Do more than what's expected of you. And it always, what I've noticed is it always works out better.
Yep.
Right.
Exceed expectations. It's just got to be who you are, as part of your life. You're at the gym, do one more rep. If you're, whatever you're doing, do one more. I didn't work for 3 hours. I worked for 3 hours and 5 minutes. It's always that little extra all the time that makes the difference.
I love the story.
I really love the story that John told about his dad.
Me too. It was amazing. And I thought, first of all, my thoughts were, how did somebody even think of that? Yeah. Right? Because, do you want to tell the story?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So this is during the Depression, and nobody had work. Nobody had money. Nobody had food, right? It was just a terrible time. But John's dad had 3 jobs during the Depression. Now, how on earth did he have 3 jobs? Like, how does that even work? And he was brilliant. So he would go to like different places, and he would say, like to the little hardware store, and no, I'm sorry, we're not looking for anybody. We can't afford to pay anybody. I'm so sorry. And he'd say, well, you know what? I'd like to work for you today for free. I really would. And I'll work my hardest and do my best. And you don't have to pay me a thing. And so they'd be like, oh, okay. And so then he would work for free for the hardware store for free. And then at the end of the day, he would say, hey, listen, when you do, or when you are able to hire someone, then please just keep me in mind. And they'd say, oh, okay. And then he would say, if you like what I did for free, then I think you'll be amazed when no, I'm kidding. They didn't say that, but and then he would go and do it again at another place. And he did that every single day for, I think, 2 weeks or something.
Well, right? When you started having money, would you hire him?
Are you kidding? He'd be the first person I called.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. And I love that I love the story on so many different levels. But another thing that I thought of when I was hearing this story is, think of stuff like that. Like, there's things out there now today that can happen, something like that, a story like this. I mean, and so it's not just about, doing more than is expected, but it's about coming up with fantastic ideas and following through with those ideas to make you stand out.
Yep. It's also a mindset thing though, Cheryl. As time has gone on from then to now, people want things. We talked about this earlier about the wanting things now, like your daughter wants fit. Well, listen, I'm not going to listen to your 30-minute podcast. I'll need something that's 15 seconds. I mean, they're in a 15. That's how bad we got now, is where.
Well, that's why TikTok is so big.
Yeah. Anything more than 15 seconds, forget about it.
Yeah. We don't have time.
Yeah. I ain't got time to work for free for a whole day. I ain't got time to work for free for 3 minutes. What are you talking about? It's just bad thinking. Thinking.
It is. Well, and it's just the way the whole generation is, right?
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. So we want to mentor, right? We want to mentor this generation and these generations that think like that into, no, there's a different way. There's a better way.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah. The next one is near and dear to my heart. It's stop doing things some days and start doing them every day. And so it's your priorities. So those top 2 things, we got a list of 10. I promise you there's 2 things on that list that'll give you 80% of the return. So coming up with those 2 things, doing those 2 things first, and doing those 2 things consistently, every day, picking up the 2 things and doing it every day. And Jill, I've established some streaks in my life that I'm super proud of, with drinking water, with exercise, with personal growth. There's a bunch of things in my life that I'm like, I'm going to go to this everyday mentality and see what it does. And it's, because so many times, like, oh, well, I'll get there tomorrow, and the streak gets broken, and then something else comes up, and then you find yourself 2 weeks later, you still haven't been to the gym. So it happens to everybody, but it's getting out of that and saying, not doing some days, but every day.
Yeah. I love that. And the consistency, I believe, really pays off. I mean, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last but not least, Cheryl, number 3.
Stop doing everything by yourself and start doing things with others. I absolutely love that. And I think
John into putting this one in there.
One is too small a number to achieve greatness. Yeah.
Right.
And I definitely believe that. I mean, and Paul, I've told you this before. We talk about this, things like this all the time. And I always say, I am 1,000 times better with a group. And I don't know if that's just a girl thing. I don't know, but no, it isn't. Shush. John just said no. But I just think that it's so interesting and amazing that how we naturally are, how I naturally am anyway, is that I love to have other people to bounce things off of. And you already know, like, I don't ever watch this show, The View, but I love the whole idea of it. I love like a table, because everybody has so much to offer and so many great and different things to put into the whole program, you know, or whatever you're talking about, that I just think it's fantastic. I think it's the best thing ever.
Super bad example, but
well, that's why I said I don't watch it.
I get what you mean.
To have my own. I would like to have my own view. The View.
The View. Yeah. My view. My view.
I'm going to have the right view.
Yeah. The right view. the correct view here. No, I know we just talked about this kind of earlier where we said that, oh, I'll just do it myself kind of mentality.
Oh, sure.
But when you involve others, you can create greatness. There's no way one person can do anything significant, you know, really significant in life. It was always a team effort.
Right. Totally agree.
You know, John's the first thing to admit it. He's like, I wrote 100 books. I do all these thousands of seminars, you know, all this great, crazy stuff. But if you think he's doing that by himself, you're crazy. Okay. He's got a massive team working for him, of brilliant people that he surrounded himself with. And that's, you got to create that inner circle of great people.
Well, there's only a couple of things that he does, Paul. He said that.
Yeah.
That he has to do. A couple of things.
He reads, he thinks, and he writes. That's it.
Yeah.
If it ain't one of those three things, he ain't doing it.
Yep. That's right.
So that's the kind of mentality to have in life. So this is great, Cheryl. I love this lesson. And, you know, let's all expand. Let's all elevate.
Yeah. I'm going to think of the one thing I need to do and do nothing else. And that might be just lounging on the couch.
I don't think that's going to be your top two big rocks, Cheryl.
It's not. It's not, but I always like to think about that because I think it makes me laugh. Because you know what, Paul? I think the whole thing would be is that after about 2 seconds, I would get bored stiff.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that, I'm going to take a couple of days off. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I think it was like around 4th of July or something. And then you call me like 2 hours later. You're like, okay, what are we doing? I'm like, wait, what happened to a couple of days off? I mean, it was
I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to rest. Well, I did.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's go then.
Exactly.
So good. All right. Great job, everyone. Hopefully we're helping you and adding value to your life. And we're going to do the last law. If you haven't got this book yet, you got to get the book. It's fantastic. We're going to do the last law next week. So looking forward to that.
All righty. Thank you.
All right, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.